Hi, so welcome to part 2 of your lecture in research methods. Before we begin, there was some news yesterday about a 2-year-old who died from electrocution after sticking metal spoon into electric outlet. Okay, just want to make clear. Okay, so this is an extension cord, and what does the Philippine Electrical Code says about electric or extension cord is that it shouldn't be okay, so it should be only for temporary solution. Okay, so remember class that extension wires are not meant for permanent electrical circuits, so we only use extension wires for temporary. So after gamitin, iligpit, tago. So hindi dapat ganito, alam mo yan. Okay, so close ko na. So going back to your topic, so this is gonna be writing. Okay, types of research. Okay, so lesson number 2 is types of research and the parts of the undergrad thesis. So it's gonna be more on the format itself for the RSU. Okay, so there are many kinds of research. It could be, what I talked about last night was more on engineering research, but there are types of research which could be a descriptive or analytical. So it's already been discussed here. What's the difference between descriptive, okay, and applied research can also be defined as how it is used. So applied research seeks to solve an immediate problem facing the organization, whereas fundamental research is concerned with generalizations and formulation of a theory. So applied research, for example, is a company or Romulus State University is prone to electrical or power shortage. Okay, so there might be power shortages. So that problem can be solved. Okay, so the problem exists. So power shortages, or let's say RSU has inefficient or ineffective electrical system. So that's a problem, and you make a solution. So the solution, so that is basically applied research. So you conduct a study on that problem and you try to answer the problem or to solve the problem. Whereas fundamental research is more on generalizations and formulation of a theory. So it's like what if. Okay, so it's like what ifs. So it's more on the generally, or it's more on crafting the hypothesis. So this is more like a pure research itself, fundamental. Okay, so the primary objective of applied research is to determine a solution for a compelling problem in actual practice. So compelling problem, so it means it exists. Okay, while basic research is aimed at seeking information which would have been broad base of applications in the medium. So aimed at seeking information, so it's more like it's more like a combination of a basic or a descriptive type, because you are experimenting to get an information about something. Okay, so quantitative versus qualitative. Okay, quantitative uses statistical observations to draw any conclusions. So if you remember your EDA, so quantitative research, it's more on drawing conclusions. So if they are statistically correlated, or is there a regression between the two, or are they acceptable to a certain degree. Whereas qualitative research, okay, so verbal, narrative, or behavioral studies. So for us in engineering, we use quantitative research. Quantitative, that is, it could be applied or fundamental. So what I said here, you can combine multiple. You can be descriptive, applied, and quantitative, or it can be descriptive, fundamental, and quantitative, or it can be combination of the three. Okay, so the researcher has to be convinced that the problem is worthwhile before beginning to tackle it. Yes, so that's why I already discussed in lesson 1 that you should answer the 4 questions. Why is it important? Okay, you have to answer that questions. So, okay, so knowing the type of research, yes. So knowing the type of research is like knowing the theme or the motive of the event. So it means that if the event is an Halloween costume party, so you wear a Halloween costume party, you're not going to wear I don't know, you cannot wear barong Tagalog unless you are dressed up like a zombie or whatever. So what it means to say here is the elements or the process or the way of doing the research depends on the type of the research that you're conducting. For example, if you are talking about quantitative research, then you're only going to quantitative, yeah. If you're going to go on quantitative kind of research, you will only use statistical analysis or tools that is only for quantitative. Okay. So, in you are confused, you look for you ask Google quantitative research statistical tools. Okay, that should give you the list of tools that you can use, whether that be t-test, z-test, ANOVA, or whatever. It depends. Okay. So this is the parts of the undergraduate manuscript thesis. So chapter 1 is introduction. So it contains background, objectives, significance, and scope and delimitation, limitation. Okay, so chapter 2 is review of related literature. Then chapter 3 is more on materials and methods. Chapter 4 is result and discussions. Okay, so number 5 is the summary. So for the proposal or for the title, I don't know, title defense or proposal, you only have to give us chapters 1 to 3. Okay, chapters 1 to 3. Chapter 4 is where you already conducting your work. So you have to have an approved chapters 1 to 3 before you begin with chapters 5. And obviously, you can only do chapter 5 after doing chapter 4. I hope that's clear. Okay, so there are also some things that are included. Okay, so title page, obviously. So this is where the title of your research and then your names. Approval sheet indicates here that your research or your thesis is approved as defended. Acknowledgement is where you're going to put all the acknowledgement or whatever you want to thank for. Maybe you want to thank for the people who help you do your research. So I hate to see. I really don't want you to use acknowledgement, which is in my template. No, I want you to be creative on your acknowledgement. So table of contents, tables or figures, a list of equations not required, but it's nice to have. Obviously, you're going to use equations. Imposibleng wala. So, so list so these are the quiz, I think. Okay, so finding the relationship. Okay, so the list of chapters included in the research proposal, so that will be chapters 1 to 3. Okay, so finding the relationship between the amount of polar ice caps melting and the changing temperature in the Earth's surface is what type of research? So, okay, so this is more on a quantitative research. That could also be a descriptive one. Okay, so this could be a descriptive and also be a quantitative research. You know why? Because you are getting a correlation, you are getting a relationship within the two. So you're getting a relationship between the amount of polar ice caps melting. So let's say that the temperature of the world is increasing, so you measure how many polar ice caps are melting. And then you get the conclusion that as the temperature increases, the number of polar ice caps is also decreasing. So increasing the temperature, decreasing of polar ice caps. So yeah. Okay, so lesson 3, composing the research proposal, chapter 1. So this is gonna be the chapter 1. Okay, so so the part of the chapter 1 first is the background of the study. So this is where you're going to show or highlight the problem that you are trying to solve. So here you're going to tell us what's the problem and what are the things that are being done to address the problem and what's your contribution. So basically, it has a formula. It has a formula to. And there is a formula in writing introduction. Just like any other, there is formula. So what I'm teaching is the formula. So for example, here the global. So the first sentence is the most crucial, I think, and I believe so. The first sentence of research is the most difficult to do. Actually, when I first doing my research or any kind of manuscript, the first sentence is the most difficult. I believe so. Because your first sentence will determine the flow of the topic. So, the question is there a way for you or is there a formula for you to do the first sentence? Well, there is no exact because it depends on you. But what I can tell you is the first sentence will definitely lead you to the to the conclusion of your whole background. So dito nakadepende yung takbo sa first sentence. So that is why this is the most crucial. This is actually the first sentence that the panelist or the reviewer are going to check, especially me. This is the first, this is the crucial, this is the most crucial, okay? So, like for example, if you met someone for the first time, okay, so parang ganun, you immediately look at the facial, so looks. So you will start, okay, so yung first impression last is actually true. So you will make a first impression in your first sentence. Okay, so sana clear. So the global interest in renewable energy technology is increasing thanks to the advancement in solar photovoltaic, wind energy, and reduced in construction costs, both brought by economies of scale and improving economy. So what's the first sentence all about? It's all about the interest of the world, which is growing in terms of RE. Okay, so you talk about RE. So when I use our renewable energy technology here, it implies that my topic is all about renewable energy technology. Obvious naman. Okay. So I said I included some example like solar photovoltaic, wind, and yeah. So reduced in construction costs brought by economies of scale, improving economy. So yeah. So part one of the background is ideally not long, which is true. Because you don't want your critics or your panel to be bored. So first impression last. So you make the first sentence to be impressive as much as you can. Okay, so part 2. So you will introduce the technology used. Okay, so this is the topic, renewable energy technology, and I gave examples like solar, wind, and solar and wind. So you will introduce a technology that is currently being used. For example, technology that is the technology that's very widely used in solar photovoltaic or solar PV. So I gave a description here. So what is a solar PV? So it is a semiconductor device that converts light to electricity through whole mobility in the p-n-type silicon junctions. So question: do I have to put a citation here? You can, and you can also, you may or you may not. Okay. So when I say here, it is a semiconductor device that converts light to electricity through whole mobility in the p-n-type silicon junctions. It means that this is already, I am implying that this is already known. Okay, because yun naman talaga ang purpose ng solar photovoltaic, convert light to electricity. Wala namang iba. Though I added some descriptions here to make it more specific or make it more like a scientific one. Okay. So, you know why? Because this is an engineering research, so you have to be scientific. Hindi to writing contest, hindi to artwork contest. So this is scientific. So you talk about science stuff, okay? So you can, well, obviously, it is a semiconductor device that converts light to electricity. Look, if this is the only sentence that you're going to put, does it sound like you know the topic well? Clearly you don't, because you only describe what it does. You did not give an explanation how it does the conversion of light to electricity. Okay, so that is why I put here another description or part. So how does a semiconductor device such as solar photovoltaic converts light to electricity? It is through whole mobility in the p-n-type silicon junctions. Okay. So, a single cell here is about 1.5 volts to achieve a use. Okay, a single cell is about 1.5 volts, and obviously 1.5 is not enough for you to power almost anything. Okay, so you have to achieve a usable amount of power, and this can be done by connecting multiple cells. Okay, so we connect multiple cells to make them bigger. Okay, so this can either be a parallel or series. However, or despite this, okay, despite this, even if you already connected multiple of cells to make it huge, okay, despite this, it still suffers from relatively low efficiencies compared to our renewable energy technologies. And this is true because solar photovoltaic can only have around 20% efficiency. Actually, you can put that here. Despite this, solar PVs have only an efficiency of 20%, and then you put a citation. You put a citation. Who said that? Who said that solar photovoltaic only has 20% efficiency? So that is the time that you're going to put a citation. Okay? So this lower efficiency is because of what are the reasons? So what are the reasons why a solar photovoltaic is inefficient? It could be on the material, it could be on the material itself. I think that's the only reason. Okay? So because of the material used, um, you can only have 20% efficiency. Okay. So I use despite this because this is a more of a transition. Because I already established the fact that RE is widely used, solar photovoltaic is widely used. However, even if it is widely used, there is still a problem. Okay? And because there is a problem, that's why I'm going to make a research. Again, you start with a problem. That's the entry point for your research. You start with a problem. So that is why I put despite this, because even if it's good, even if it is, well, even if it's very good, even if it's very popular, there is still a weakness or there is still a problem, and that is why you're going to do your research. Obviously, you already know the problem. Okay? So I call this transitional phase. This will help you establish that the problem exists. Sana naman nabasa nyo. So this will give you justice to say that your problem is legit. Okay? So how can you do that? Number one is using verified statement by authors. So when I say this, it means that you found a research article that says this is the problem. So you cite it. Okay, you use it, you paraphrase it, and then you cite it. So that's one way. And the second way is something which is saying something which is already accepted as a fact to known people. Like for example, however, the shape of the earth is round. Such like that. It could be. So lastly, so there are 1, 2, 3. So the fourth part of the background is where you're going to finally introduce your solution to the problem. Okay? So this is very tricky. You start with the introduction, you start with the problem, and then you start saying what is the problem. You start with the introduction or yung palabok, then you start with the technology being used, and then part 3 is telling telling the reader that there is a problem in that technology, and the fourth one is what is your solution to that problem to make the technology better. It could be better or worse, but you make a solution to make it better, not worse. Okay, so that's part 4. So it really depends on you, but it but the background of the study always ends with this. Therefore, the study aims to address the issue by blah 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 blah. Okay. So that's always the case in making the last part of your background. Okay, so tingnan natin. So let's check one example or one submission. Okay, so let's see if this is their part 1. Okay, water shortage is an old problem in the Philippines. Okay, no questions asked. It is. However, is it really an old problem, or are you really talking about water shortage? Again, as I already told you on the first video, when we say clean water, there could be drinkable or usable water. So, water shortage, are you talking about drinkable water or just usable? Okay? So, an old problem, not really an old problem because we clearly we don't have a water shortage here. We don't. It's just that we are experiencing water shortages because too many people are crowding in a particular place, like for example Manila. So Manila has around I don't know, Manila has a particular area wherein you already squeezed a lot of people. So those amount of people cannot be served by the water supply anymore. So water shortage is not a problem. It's overpopulation. So overpopulation is the problem, not water shortage. So obvious that's the most logical reason. Okay, so water shortage is not an old problem in the Philippines because water shortage is an old problem in other countries. So you make it specific. Like for example, we you can rewrite this one. For example, you can say that access to clean water is one of the main problems in developing countries such as the Philippines. So, the arguments made. Access to clean water is one of the main problems. One of the main problem. I'm not saying it's the main problem. I'm saying one of the main problem. Okay. So there is no stable water to flow the taps during. Okay, so you're not talking about drinkable water, but you can say access to clean water or usable water. So clean and usable water is one of the main problems in developing countries such as the Philippines. So um, that's the first sentence. So you can also use this one. Okay, so delete this one. Okay, there's no stable water flow. Really, there's no stable water flow in the taps during dry season and also in rainy season. It's not specially, it's especially those in flat areas who are always being flooded with mixed in water source contamination. Okay, nahilo ko. So, if I'm going to read this, it's difficult to digest. So, what are you trying to say? Okay. Okay, low-lying areas such as okay, water is one is important to irrigation, yet some of the low lying provinces. Okay, no, delete. Okay. Ano mo gustong sabihin? There is no stable water flow in taps during taps. What do you mean taps? During dry season, this this situation is evident is more evident during dry season. Dry seasons where low low water supply is dry season. This situation is more evident during dry seasons, thus limiting water supply to residences and more importantly the farmlands. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so flooded with space water resources contaminated. Okay, this is difficult. This situation is more evident during dry seasons, thus limiting the water supply to residences and more importantly the farmlands. During in contrary, in contrary, during during rainy season, uh, during rainy seasons, uh, supply is more yet unusable due to its muddy characteristics. Okay, that's it. Okay, so access to clean unusable water is one of the main problems in developing countries such as the Philippines, and this situation is even more evident during dry seasons, thus limiting the water supply to residences and more importantly to farmlands. In contrary, during rainy seasons, supply is more yet unusable due to its muddy characteristics. So what you're trying to say here is clean water and access to usable water is one of the problems in the Philippines. And malinaw ito kapag dry season kasi walang tubig or not walang-wala. Limitado ang tubig na supply tuwing mainit. Pero kapag maulan naman, hindi mo rin magamit kasi madumi, maputik. Okay? So, you establish there that there is a problem. So, if I'm going to read this first paragraph of the background, I'm going to think that you are going to create a water station or a water processing station which can collect water during dry season, collect water during rain seasons and then store it in reservoirs and then use it during dry seasons to process and then make it usable. So if you're going to think of it, that's the most probable outcome. Okay, so clean water is needed at times like this because so I don't really see the reason why you're going to use COVID-19 here because you can always rely on disinfection. Okay, you can always rely on alcohol. You don't really need you don't really need you don't really need it because you don't really need it because of COVID because you already need it because you need it, not because of COVID-19. Water is a necessity, remember. You don't need water because of COVID-19. You need water because you need it. Okay? So I don't see the point why you're putting it this here. Maybe trying to convince the reader that it is important. Well, it is already important. Why do you have to put COVID-19? Okay? So there are many factors that result to water shortage. Okay? Like water demand. Obviously, more demand than supply, water shortage. Pollution. Yes, lack of access to clean water or supply is also a problem in water shortage. Climate change. Yes, because it can introduce long period of droughts or El Nino phenomenon. Wasting of water. Yeah, no, not really. Not really. This should not be here. Groundwater depletion, well, yes. And price of water. I don't get it why price of water is the factor to water shortage. Because if you can remember your economics in high school, it's the price is dependent on the supply and demand. So when there is high demand and low supply, you have high prices. If you have more supply and low demand, you have low prices, obviously. So price of water is obviously not a factor. Okay. So you only have water demand, water pollution, climate change, and groundwater depletion. Yeah, that's it. Alright, so there are many ways to address water shortage. So you already introduced part 2, which is technology. Okay, so you are talking about technologies used to address water shortage. So you said desalination plants, okay, desalination plants, improvement of water distribution infrastructure, which is yes, okay, water projects. Maybe you're trying to, I don't know, this is already included in the water infrastructure. It's not comma or to individually promoted what individually promoted water conservation techniques like what desalination plant and improvement of water distribution infrastructure has nothing to do with recycling wastewater and turning off the tap. You're talking about too many things which are different. Okay, many ways to address water shortage. Yeah. Not from. You say there are many ways to address water shortage, such as construction. Next, nagre-record ako. Desalination plants, water distribution infrastructure, water reservoirs, and reforestation. Okay, reforestation could be. Okay. You said the ways that you can do. Now that you already said construction of desalination plants, water distribution infrastructure, water reservoirs, and reforestation, which of the following are you going to push? Okay, so you said rainwater catchment. Now, it's not included here, but you can say this. Moreover, or additionally, it's the most simple, or additionally, rain water catchment. Additionally, rainwater catchment is ideal for rainwater catchment. Okay. There are many ways to address water shortages as construction of desalination plants, desalination plants, water distribution structure, water reservoirs, and reforestation. Additionally, and rainwater catchment. Basins. Okay. Basins. Some other ways includes very simple solutions like water conservation techniques, recycling wastewater, while ways some other ways, very simple solutions like water conservation techniques and recycling wastewater. Among these, installing rainwater catchment basins is okay. Okay, so I'm going to insert this one. One is one of the most common method. Okay, rain harvesting employed in rainwater harvesting. Okay. among these installing among these solutions, rainwater harvesting seems promising in was seems promising as it can as as it showed seems okay, rainwater harvesting um, and rainwater catchment rainwater harvesting and rainwater catchments are most ideal for um, for locations which lack access to water sources. Oh, medyo tricky. Okay. So that's the first part. Second part. Okay. Second part, technology. So first part, second part, technology. So now this is interesting because he did not use despite this. He used however. Now, I'm beginning to question this work. If this is really your work, probably this is not your work. Okay, so however, however, okay, because I'm expecting despite this, but not expecting however, really. So, however, rainwater harvesting also collects pathogen. Not also collects, has the potential to collect pathogens which rainwater contains, might contain. Period. These um, not really harmful, don't really get it. If you employed rainwater harvesting, obviously you should have a you should have a treatment. You should use UV. You should have disinfection, or you should, if you collect the water, you boil it before you use it. You don't use it right away. Okay, not intentionally, it's unintentionally, accidentally, should be unintentionally. Okay, so as a potential to collect pathogens, which might, it's not really pathogens really, pathogens. Okay, define pathogens. Wow, pathogens, big word. Organism that causes disease. Okay, microbes. Okay, okay. However, rainwater harvesting might might also collect pathogens which might collect pathogens which make along with the rain water which can harm which can induce uh, serious medical conditions like diarrhea or serious sickness when swallowed accidentally or unintentionally. Okay, so therefore this study aims not really aims will aim to address the problem. No, you don't say this. You explicitly say the problem. What's the problem? What's the problem? Okay. Therefore, this study will aim to address the problem of un problem of address a problem of pathogens in collected rainwater by installing electric heating elements to not purify, not really purify. You don't make it purify. Purification entails distillation. So when you heat, it's not purify, it's sterilize. Sterilize. Installing electric heating elements to sterilize the rainwater, making it safe for use. Oh, that's it. Completed. Chapter background of the study. This is the finished background of the study. This is acceptable. So, pero you don't have to do this research anymore. This is already finished. Is pointless na kung gagawin mo pa to, Paul. Statement of the problem. So, objectives. Not really statement of the problem. This is objectives of the problem. Objectives of the study, rather. So, this study will aim to address the problem. No, don't say it. You copy again. The problem of pathogens with rainwater. Okay. Specifically, the study will aim the following, or you can say this study will aim the following specific objectives. 1. To determine the ratio of the okay, this is smart because you're going to determine the ratio. Why do you have to do that? You only have one size, one half. Why do you have to determine the size of the heating element? Measure the electric consumption used with the heating element. Not measure, to evaluate the electric consumption of the of heating element, not period. Determine the ratio. Sinasundan ko lang to dito yung okay. To determine the purity of the water. What? Define purity. Okay, you don't say this. You say determine the water characteristics, or to compare. You can say to compare the, or let's say to determine the improvement in water quality in terms of the rainwater after being sterilized, in terms of, okay, letter A, letter B, letter C. Okay, so why did I put A, B, C here? Because water quality has a quality. It could be color, it could be pH, it could be bacteria count. Okay, it could be pH, it could be pathogens or microbial. It could be I don't know what else you find it. Okay, so significance of the study. Results of the study will benefit not benefit the engineers. Come on, it's not the engineers going to use. Who will use your system? Obviously, the people who will use your systems are from areas which lack supplies of water. Not engineers, duh. Are you going to improve the quality or design of the rainwater catchment system? Are you going to design and to improve are you going to improve the design? There is an already existing design. So if you are aiming for improving the quality of the design, this should not be your topic. These should not be your objectives. This shouldn't be. These will be your objectives if you are making rainwater catchment system with sterilization for the first time. These will be the objectives. But if you are aiming for improving the design, this will not be objectives of the study, and this will not be also be your objects or your statement of the problem. I hope you get the point. Oh. No. So, based on what we already what you already have written, the significance of the study should go like this. The study, the results of the study will benefit the rural areas which lack access to clean water, such as cities, downtowns, I don't know, rural areas, and may also help living people living in cities wanting to save money by reducing their water consumption. Yeah. Actually, you can add more. Okay. But if you're going to talk about designs, no, you're not improving the design. You're not. Because if you are improving the design, that should be already said here. You should say that you're not going to put water demand, water pollution, you're not going to put water distribution infrastructure, water reservoir. You will immediately say one of the most common way to address water shortage is by using rainwater catchment basins or rainwater systems, catching systems. However, these systems are fundamentally flawed. I mean, there is a problem. There is a problem in rainwater harvesting because they are like this or like that. Obviously, rainwater harvesting already requires disinfection or sterilization. So I don't know why you're going to say that you are improving the design, because obviously you are not improving the design, because there is already an existing design and you are using it. Just saying. Okay, so that's it. That's how you do the chapter 1 of your research. Actually, there is also lacking here scope and delimitation. If you ask, probably it's not included here. Is it included here? Okay, just the beneficiary though. So limitation and delimitation is it's very easy actually. Okay, so that is how you do the chapter 1 or background. Now, going on the specific objectives of the study, it should be smart. It should be specific. Specific means that you are saying what you are going to use or what you're going to do. Okay, for example, to determine the electric consumption. This is specific because you are going to evaluate the electric consumption, and obviously that is in kilowatts. However, if you want to make it very specific, evaluate the electric consumption, you can say the peak. I don't know. You're just going to determine the electric consumption, so there's only one. It's only power. Okay, so this is specific. Okay, so pH, microbial, and others. This is specific. Okay. Measurable. It means you can measure it. Okay, question. Can you measure the size? Obviously, you can. Can you measure the electric consumption? Yes, you can. Can you measure the water quality? Yes, you can. Because you can measure pH and you can number the number of bacteria. So it's measurable. Is specific and measurable. Okay, attainable. Okay, question. Is there a way for you to size the heating element? Yes. Is there a way for you to measure the electric consumption? Yes. And there is a way for you to measure the water quality? Obviously, yes. So this is attainable. Attainable. Time bound. Okay, not really included here. So it means when we say time bound, you can do it immediately. So you can do the measurement immediately. You can measure the electric consumption immediately. You can determine the water quality immediately. Okay, that's time bound. Okay. So that's it. So significance, straightforward. It's already here. And okay, the difference between delimitation and limitation is this. You use delimitation if you are setting the limitation. So, for example, in the water catchment basin, you will going to make a delimitation. What's going to be the delimitation? So you are setting the limitation itself. So you can say that the limitation is you are only going to 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 design a rainwater catchment for a single family of 4 person only. That's the limitation. Because you're only going to design for one family, which means one house. You're not going to design a river catchment basin for a whole community. So that's the limitation, because you are setting the limitation that's only for one family. Gets? That's only the limitation. You can also say that your delimitation of the study is, I don't know, maybe on, you're only limited on the size of the tank, which is 50 liters. Yeah. Okay, what about the limitation? Obviously, limitation is, you know, obvious na hindi mo kayang gawin talaga at all. This is really hard because this is really hard for this study. That's why we don't really use limitation, because when you say limitation, it means that what you are doing, what the kind of research that you're doing is really new. You know, it's new. For example, you cannot by any means. For example, if you're going to talk about COVID-19, so the limitation is you are not going to use humans for trials. That's a limitation. Okay, you cannot. You simply cannot. Okay. Or you cannot use. Wait, you cannot. You're not going to. Okay, sorry. Limitation is you cannot test the prototype in outer space. What? So it's something like that. I mean, something which is really difficult for you to do. I mean, it's virtually impossible. Like, you cannot measure something because it still doesn't exist. So that's the limitation. So that is the reason why we don't use limitation here. We only use the limitation because you are only setting the limitation yourself. Okay? So I hope that's clear. So that's it for the video.